Welcome to the LA City Boys Basketball finale video. Connor Morissette, Alex Scar. Got our team of the year, Alex. We'll get to. Going to talk the city championships, the state playoffs, so much to get to. But this is our final boys basketball video of the year. What a year it's been. So much fun this year.
Yeah, what a way to end it. You and I were sitting courtside at LA Southwest College. Fantastic atmosphere. We got to watch the Open Division boys, obviously Westchester and Fairfax, but a whole slate of good games. We saw Granada Hills and University. We saw Granada Hills girls and Westchester girls, and then, of course, Palisades and Carson. So a full slate of really, really fun basketball atmosphere. A lot of great games, and what a way to finish.
Yeah, so we'll hit on some of these city championships to start. We'll end the show with our team of the year. Like we did last year, we have a first team, a second team, and a third team, 5 players each. So we'll get to that.
Only 15 guys.
Yeah,
so compare it to the other city teams around there. This is a tough list, tough team to make.
Yeah, just like for football, we like to try to make it a little tougher. Don't want to give everyone a participation trophy, and if we overlooked you, we're sorry, but it's a tough list to make, so we'll leave it at that. City championships in the lower divisions. In Division 5 for boys, Math and Science College Prep beat Rivera 51-48, so I want to give them a shout-out.
Boys and girls taking home titles.
Yeah, so they had that school did a really nice job. In Division 4, in front of a packed fan base at Birmingham, Arleta beat San Fernando 69-68.
How about the tip-in to win?
Yeah,
there?
and the talk after that game was the atmosphere was so great because they were two Valley schools and they played in the Valley, so that was great to see. Division 3 at Granada Hills High, Roybal beat Pauley 51-47. We each thought that Pauley was going to win.
Yeah.
But Roybal, we didn't totally know what was going on. Coach Daniel Fallon has stage 4 cancer, and his team really just gave it all they had for him. And they completed the perfect season in the city, winning that game against Pauley. And they lost in the state playoffs the other night. But to go 19-0 in the city section and win a city championship, so impressive. Johnny Surratt really impressed me, the point guard over there for Roybal. Just wore his heart on his sleeve and was immense that night. It was a great story, a great game. Really happy to be there.
Yeah, the story's picking up some national attention, which is always good. Of course, we talked so much about some of the other schools in Division 3, but Roybal capping off the perfect season, winning for their coach. And you talked to Surratt after the game, and he was like, man, that's our coach. We got to play for him. That's our guy. We got to make sure that we do everything for him. And knowing what he's going through, knowing that they were able to culminate and win this championship, huge, great story.
In Division 2, you saw Eagle Rock take care of business against Kennedy. What stood out in that one?
Well, Mitchell Gravino had 16 points, but like you were talking about the Arleta San Fernando game, the Eagle Rock Kennedy game, that was the best atmosphere.
Yeah, people were turned away as well.
Yeah, there were a couple of lines outside the building. Guys couldn't get in. It was really, really fun atmosphere. But this game was going back and forth, the defensive pressure on both sides. Eagle Rock was dominating the first half. I think I sent you a message and said I'd be surprised if Eagle Rock didn't win this game. Kennedy came all the way back. They had a 1 or 2 point lead, I think, in the final minute. And then just the defensive pressure there from Eagle Rock forced some turnovers. They converted at the line, and they got it done. Eagle Rock, they were the number 1 seed, but they had played Banning, went to double overtime the week before. So we thought, you know what, maybe this team, maybe they're a little gassed. We think Kennedy might be the best team here in this bracket, despite Eagle Rock being number 1. But they came out. I think they won wire to wire. I think that Kennedy only led for maybe 30 seconds of the ball game. So a fantastic win there for Eagle Rock.
In D3, Bell took care of business for the girls. Brisa Castillo was really great. She had like 25 to 30 points or something ridiculous, was the best player by a mile in that game. Bell beat Sotomayor. Van Nuys won in D2 before that Eagle Rock game. In Division 1, we saw Palisades. Rose Morris hits a baseline 3 to tie the game against Carson right at the end. And then Pally with Jane Nwaba went on to win in overtime. That was a great game. Boys Division 1. Granada Hills, it was close with University in the first half, and shout out to both of these teams for winning their state games, especially Uni, who
the 16 over the 1.
beat Montgomery, who was the number 1 seed in Division 3. But back to the city championship, Granada in the second half put the pedal to the floor. Chris Howard really played well, Jesse Benute really played well, and the Highlanders, like we thought they were going to do, kind of rolled Uni in the second half, and for a very well-deserved city championship, they've had a great year in Division 1. I thought there were 9 really good teams in the city this year, and Granada just missed out in the Open. And when that happens, you get to win a championship, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, and we talked to Coach Ackerman after the game, the University coach, Steve Ackerman, and he said, I thought we played as good of a first half as we possibly could. And then we saw in the second half, they started pressuring the ball, they forced some turnovers, they started making shots. Chris Howard for Granada Hills had a double-double. Jesse Benute finished with 18 points. And how about Coach Loperena? He was the coach of the year last year, helping, like you mentioned, get Granada Hills into the Open Division. But it seems like this year, maybe this is the year where it really came together, because this is the first boys title for Granada Hills sports since 1987. I talked to Chris Howard after the game. I said, how does this feel? How does it feel to bring something home? He's like, man, my friends and I have been talking about it. We wanted to raise a banner. We wanted our names on that to kind of show the school, hey, this is something we can leave. This is a legacy we can leave. So credit to Granada Hills. Congrats to them. First banner since 1987.
On the girls' side in the open division, Granada led wire to wire against Westchester. Haley Burfield battled through an ankle injury, hit the dagger 3 in that game. Bree Torres was good. Haley Aiden, the big center for Granada Hills, had a really good game as well, and they go on into the city championship and beat Westchester. So that was nice. And in the state tournament, they won as well. So you're seeing a lot of successful
city teams, yeah.
Making big statements in the state championships. And then for the boys, Alex, it was what we talked about a lot last week. Could Fairfax beat Westchester for a third time?
Right.
We thought Dalen Williams would have to have a big game. Fairfax did beat Westchester for a third time, and Williams had a fantastic game. And how much can you say about this Fairfax team? What a special group.
Yeah, and I asked Dalen after the game. He was my player of the game. He had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 7 blocks. We talked a ton about what that matchup would be with KJ Allen. And I asked him, I said, we've talked a ton about this. I'm sure you've heard it. Can you beat them a third time? And he said, our plan, go out and rebound. Out-rebound them make tough shots, run in transition when we get the ball, and I think they did a really good job. The leading scorer on the team wasn't one of the guards, right? It wasn't Ethan Anderson, wasn't Rob McCray, wasn't Keith Dinwiddie. It was Dalen Williams. It was the big guy down low, finishing in the post, being able to convert when he got to the free throw line. Really, really impressed. Like we mentioned, could he contain KJ Allen? KJ still had a double-double, but still, I was did enough. I was really impressed with the game, the complete game that he had, and we hadn't really seen it all season long. So big credit to the big man there for Fairfax.
And remember, Fairfax trailed after the first quarter. They came out. It looked like, you know how sometimes you want something so bad
you press a little.
Exactly. Yeah. They looked kind of not that they weren't ready, but just a little bit.
You tried too hard.
Exactly.
Forced some things.
They were forcing things. And Ethan Anderson, I thought, was forcing a little bit in the first quarter. Robert McCray sat him down. They settled down. Steve Bacot, the whole team on the same page. And then to start the second quarter with a 16-0 run, you kind of knew, okay.
Went blitz ball.
Yeah, so that was ridiculous. And from there, they were in control. Robert McCray was great. Ethan was great. Dalen Williams was the best player. Keith Dinwiddie hit a couple nice shots.
Finished with 14 points.
Ronald Mitchell.
Sneakily.
But it was Dalen Williams' show that night, and Steve Bake, the coach of Fairfax, becomes the first coach to win upper division championships in the Southern section and the city section in boys basketball.
How about that?
Yeah, so incredible. He did that at Chino Hills with all the balls were there. So I want to give him a shout out, but it's a week to celebrate Fairfax, and that's transitions nicely into the state playoff preview. They're the 2 seed. They play the one team they've lost to this year, Corona Centennial, tonight. Man, that's a tough draw for a city champ and a one-loss team in Southern California. But yeah, that's just how it is.
Just like the NC2A tournament, man. They like to sneak things in. This is a perfect rematch. Them getting the 2 seed, a ton of respect. They get to host, and getting Corona Centennial in the first round, it gives you an opportunity to avenge that loss. That's their only loss on the schedule right now. I think they finished 24-1, something like that, with the playoff wins. So this is a huge opportunity here for Fairfax. And then some of the other state playoff games, we'll talk about Westchester getting Rancho Christian, right?
No KJ Allen, yeah, too bad.
No KJ Allen, right? But of the matchups you could have gotten, this is not Sierra Canyon, which you might face a little bit later. It's not Rancho Christian. You got a chance to tune up, play a really good team, and see if you can get into that second round.
Yeah, and I think Fairfax, back when they played Corona Centennial the first time, that was at that Damien tournament. That seemed like a year ago.
Yeah, right.
That was like a different season
ago.
Almost. Fairfax is gelling now, as is Corona Centennial. They made the Open Division Southern Section tournament, but Fairfax won the city. They've beaten Westchester 3 times. I think because they're at home, they'll probably win that game, and they have a great chance to make the regional final against either, for my money, I think it's either going to be Sierra Canyon or Rancho Christian. So I like Fairfax to make a run. And then I think Granada Hills in D3 could make a run. They're the 2 seed. They had that big win the other night. They now play Rancho Buena Vista, who's the 10 seed. So I think Granada Hills, if they keep hosting these games and maybe the number 1 seed in that bracket gets knocked off somewhere down the line, or they did.
They already did, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy if University wins through their end of the bracket and Granada Hills, the 2 seed they end up facing?
Regional championship. So I give them a chance. And then the other teams who are still alive, Washington plays Rancho Verde in Division 1. Birmingham plays Etowanda in Division 1. Those are going to be great games. And in the lower divisions, University, Fremont, Eagle Rock, Arleta are all still alive. But Fairfax and Granada Hills are the two teams I think can make a run.
Yeah, no, I think both those teams, like we mentioned, they're both champions. So I think that's just a leg up already. They're going to have a higher seed, so they're going to face some of these lower opponents earlier on in the brackets. But don't forget Fremont and Eagle Rock. Both of these teams are going to play each other down in Division 3 or Division 4, I think.
Division 4.
Division 4. So both of these teams now have a chance. One of these city section teams is going to move on. I really like Fremont. They had, I think, it's like a 2-point win or kind of a comeback win. Chris Bradford had 44 points
against Ontario Christian. Great game.
Yeah, so a fantastic finish for them. So keep an eye out for Fremont down that lower bracket. I don't want to count out Eagle Rock, but I think Fremont, they were a Division I semifinalist in the city section. Of course, Eagle Rock being the Division II champion, but I think Fremont, they might make a deep run.
Game balls, Alex, the final two of the year.
Yep.
I think I know who you're going to give yours to. You talked to him after the Open Division Championship. Dalen Williams, can't give enough credit to him. He was so great in that title game.
Yes, sir, the big man from Fairfax. We gave so much love to some of the other guys. We talk about how good Ethan Anderson is, how much we love Rob McCray, how athletic Ronald Mitchell is, the great shooter in Keith Dinwiddie, and the forgotten man down low. We didn't talk a ton about Dalen Williams, but as I mentioned, had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 7 blocks, held it down in the low post. I was really, really impressed, and all of the teammates were really, really fired up for how well of a game Dalen Williams played. They knew they would need a big game from him to try to stop and contain KJ Allen. He stepped up in the big moments. He made his free throws with a pretty loud crowd right behind him. So game ball, my final game ball of 2019 basketball. Dalen Williams, you earned it.
I talked a lot about Roy Ball earlier, but going 19-0 and winning the city championship with a coach who was really sick, that story, just an incredible, incredible feat. So my game ball goes to Johnny Surratt, the 2 guard over there at Roy Ball. Plays a little point, plays a little 2, but a great guard for that team. And that night against Pauly at Granada Hills, you could just tell, Alex, he was not going to let this Roy Ball team lose. Every time they needed a bucket, he would hit a 3. He wore his heart on the sleeve. Early in the game, he took a finger or an elbow to the head and he was bleeding a lot, so he had to leave the game and wasn't able to come back until the second quarter. You thought for some guys that might kind of take him out of things a little bit. He came right back in, defended those Pauly guards really, really well. I was blown away with what he was able to do. And like I said, 19-0 city champs. Forget about that state loss last night. That is an incredible feat.
Yeah.
And Johnny Surratt, he really, really just opened my eyes as to what lower division city section basketball can be. And I think he's a great story. That team is a great story. And don't look now, Roy Ball won a baseball championship. Now they've won a basketball championship. Yeah. They are the team to beat, it seems, in those lower divisions. So I wanted to give him a shout out. Dunk of the week. We saw dunks from KJ Allen, Ethan Anderson, but I thought the 2 best dunks this week, and one didn't happen in a city championship. One I saw last night at Birmingham. It was David Elliott to Corey Cofield. As
shock and surprise.
So much. Another alley-oop, but this one I liked it a little bit more just because it was from further away and Corey got way up, so you'll see that. And then Kevion Batiste when he kind of dunked over Robert McCray a little bit, and that was a really nice slam. So those are my 2 favorites this week. Do you have a favorite from those 2?
Well, Kevion Batiste, we don't talk about. We give so much love to KJ Allen, and dude, Corey Cofield and David Elliott, they got 2 more years to be throwing these things down. I mentioned last week, I love the alley-oops, I love them in game, but I think throwing it down over one of the better wing defenders, dude, that's a poster. I got to give it to Kevion.
Yeah, Robert, we love you. You've had a great year. You're a city champ, but Kevion got the best of you on that.
Yeah, and if you're not trying to block shots, right, like you get posted because you're trying to play defense.
Exactly.
There's a badge of honor in that.
I have Kevion Batiste as well. I thought that dunk was sweet, and I hope that angle does it justice because we're a little lower to the ground, but man, was that a nice one. And just seconds before, KJ Allen had a rim rocker too, but his was, no one was really defending him. Batiste had to, he catches it, pivots, and goes up right over Robert. So nice dunk from him, but, I'm sure they'd rather have the championship than the sweet dunk. That's kind of the way it goes.
Consolation prize.
All right, all city teams, Alex. Would you like to start with the third team or the first team? What do you think?
Let's go third to first.
Okay, so third team, and the way it works, just like for football, no coaches, no voting, just the 2 of us putting our heads together in a room and seeing the 15 guys that we come up with. So, third team, I have a couple notes on these selections, but here I'll just read them off. So 3 guards, 2 forwards for every team. So for the third team, we have David Elliott from Birmingham, Jesse Benute from Granada Hills, Ronald Mitchell from Fairfax. Those are the 3 guards. And then Khalil Haywood from Taft and David Cheatham from University as our forwards. Really like the look of that team. David Elliott, some people might say he's a sophomore. I thought you guys would lean more towards seniors. in this instance, Chris Bradford came to mind, Christian Johnson came to mind from View Park, 2 Coliseum League guys, but we gave it to David because Birmingham just had the better year,
Yeah.
and when the lights were brightest in that semifinal, big game for them against Westchester, I thought he played really well, had a nice game last night in the state tournament. He's just really blown me away, so the fact that Birmingham's had a nice year kind of elevated him above those other guards.
Yeah, and it usually does, right? Postseason awards usually go to the guys that had a good season towards the end of the year, not so much the beginning of the year. And there were a lot of guys we left off this list. Taft specifically, I think they were one of the best teams that wasn't very overly represented. Khalil Haywood's the only guy on this list right now. So Diggy Winbush didn't make it. Demetrius Caleb didn't make it. Brandon Wilson didn't make it. Those are all really good players that we've talked a ton about that we really, really like. But this is a tough team to make. This is for 15 slots, and there are how many good players that we've talked about all season? There are going to be some tough choices. So third team, this team, that could beat, I think, any full five-man team in the city section, just our third team.
And let's talk about Haywood for a second. You mentioned how Taft didn't get too represented. Why was he the name picked? Because every game we watched with Taft, some games, some of those guards were having off shooting nights. Sometimes they weren't getting involved as much as we'd like to see them get involved. Every time we saw Taft, Khalil Haywood really impressed us. He's only a junior, but he can shoot. He also works really hard down low. I know some of those other guys might have more potential per se, but Khalil Haywood really blew us away this year, and I think this is some credit that he deserves because he had a fantastic, fantastic season.
Yeah, I think a lot of Taft's offense is facilitated by Diggy. Of course it is. He's the point guard. He needs to create shots for his teammates, but it seemed like you mentioned, every single time Khalil Haywood was on the floor, he was able to create his own shot, something we didn't see from some of those other guys. So for me, Khalil Haywood always looked like the most athletic guy on the field or on the court, was able to get things done, and that's why he makes our list.
Second team, from El Camino Real, we have Javel Collins, Westchester's Jeremiah Turley, Fairfax's Keith Dinwiddie, Fairfax's Dalen Williams, and Birmingham's Corey Cofield, who West Valley Player of the Year.
Yeah, as a sophomore.
Yeah, so many good things to say about him. He's had a fantastic year, but Williams came on so strong down the stretch. Keith Dinwiddie is a special, special talent. Jeremiah Turley, a 4-year guard at Westchester, great player. And then Collins would fill it up for El Camino Real every game, it seemed like. So that's a really strong second team.
Yeah, Turley was a guy we went back and forth. Is he a third-team player? Is he a second-team player? I think we dropped Jesse Benu down to the third team because we were so impressed with the way Jeremiah Turley plays defense. He's a tenacious rebounder, even for a 5'10 guard.
Yeah.
The kid can really get after it, really athletic player. And just looking at this team, I mean, we've talked about so many of these players. Corey Cofield's going to be a junior next year. He's going to help lead Birmingham. Dalen Williams, I hope he plays somewhere at the next level. And then Javel Collins, a guy that I've talked about every single time we mention El Camino Real. He's the dog. He's the guy that fills it up. So many talented players here on this list.
And finally, the first team, the first guy off the board, this was the easiest pick. Ethan Anderson starts at guard, and then the second guy who was so easy to pick was KJ Allen, and he fills one of the forward spots. So who are the 3 remaining players? Noel Scott from Washington Prep, who, such a great story. I love to see him. Last year he was a third-team guy for us. Boost all the way up to the first team. That's hard work. That's really impressive. Jordan Brinson from Westchester. Last year was left off the list because of injuries. Some people thought he played enough. Why wasn't he on your list?
Yeah.
We thought he was a little bit too banged up last year, so we didn't give him a spot. This year makes the first team. And then Robert McCray. He was a little bit injured last year as well, and he makes the first team. So this is a story of redemption for a lot of these guys. And credit to Ethan Anderson and KJ. They both made the first team a year ago as well. Really impressive to do that back-to-back years. But, man, that first team, that is about as good a 5 as you'll find in high school basketball. That is very, very good. Fairfax leads the list with all their selections, and deservedly so. Westchester's up there too, but congrats to everyone who made the list.
Yeah, fantastic teams we've seen, fantastic players. Just so excited to watch them develop and turn into some of the best players in Southern California.
Yeah, and like we said, the Coliseum League, they have every right to feel a little slighted without a single player on these lists. I understand. We really thought about Chris Bradford. We really thought about
Reese
Christian
Dixon,
Johnson.
too.
We really thought about Reese Dixon. And with the exception of Bradford, these are 2 younger guys who will have more chances. Bradford was right there, probably the one guy left off. If we could do a 16th, he'd be the first guy off the bench for one of these teams. So sorry to you, but like we said, we'd like to keep it competitive and really tough to make. So that's kind of the story with these lists, and I'm happy with what we came up with.
Yeah, and we did a fantasy draft on Instagram
Yes,
Live,
we did.
and I think my fantasy drafted team would just kick your butt. I think every single one of my guys is on one of these lists. But regardless, fantastic set of players for each team.
Yeah. So that'll do it for City Section basketball coverage from Connor and Alex in terms of these videos. We'll cover these teams in the state playoffs as far as they go. Hopefully we can get some teams into Sacramento. That would be a great story. But these videos, thing of the past. We're going to start doing baseball now.
Oh, can't wait.
Yeah, Alex is a big baseball guy. But thank you so much for following along. We've loved coming out to gyms, covering these games. It's always fun.
Great to meet everybody.
Yeah, City Section Hoops. Met a lot of great characters this year. So for Alex Scar, I'm Connor Morissette. We will see you next basketball season. Thank you for watching.